Alright, let's talk about the supposed clique problem in the furry community. A clique in this case is a small group of people with shared interests or other features in common who spend time together and do not readily allow others to join them. I've seen this talked about a lot, usually in the form of calling people elite furs, popufurs, exclusive, not readily including anyone else in their plans, and it's usually some random group of friends or a sub-community within the furry fandom that ends up being put on blast for being a clique or problematic, which I'm going to tell you right now, clique problem within the furry community is exclusively a people problem. Most of the time, whenever I see people bring up that, oh, the furry fandom has X problem, whatever that might be, the saying usually goes, it's not a furry problem, it's a people problem. Because a lot of the times they do apply to just how humanity and how people interact at large. And unfortunately, within the furry community, furries hold each other to higher standards than they would anyone who isn't a furry. And usually when you see problems like this arise, specifically with the clique problem, it's usually not as big as it really is meant to be. Because at the end of the day, cliques, as much as they might be seen as shitty or bad because they're non-inclusive, are ultimately okay. They're not bad to have. Having small groups of friends, I don't know how that's even a problematic thing to say. Having a small group of friends that you don't want to invite people to because of X, Y, or Z reason, it just comes down to people want to hang out with certain groups of friends and certain people, and they might not want to add other people simply because they want to either keep that friend group small or they don't really know the person that is wanting to join. And especially in the state that the furry fandom is in now, with it growing more and more each day and being less of a sub-community and more of a big community. When a subculture is becoming more of a culture, a lot of people naturally withdraw to small friend groups and circles to spend time with the people that they enjoy. At least that's the case for me. I mostly want to enjoy furry with the friends that I make in it, so obviously I want to spend time with people who I have similar interests with, whether that's interest in streaming, content creation, engineering, inflation. The first thing that comes to mind for me is that bit of drama that happened a little bit ago is when there was some mini friend con that happened in some overseas area, and it got a lot of traction on Twitter, and some people were saying, oh, this is just a convention for elite furs. If it's invite only and not anyone can join, it's exclusive, and by nature, oh, it's an elite fur thing. It's all the popular furries that know one another. In reality, that little friend con was just literally what it was, a group of friends wanting to rent out an area to spend time with one another for a weekend. It's easy to paint that picture that they're bad for those reasons, but in the case of this little friend con that happened, the exclusivity here isn't supposed to be heinous or due to status or out of hostility. It's not meant to exclude people to be mean about it. It's mainly just to include the people that they feel really close to because they want to share those experiences with the people that they're close to and have a similar interest with. So let's talk about this. This whole topic in and of itself can branch off into so many different discussions. Discussions about popufurs really only interacting with popufurs, elite furries, furries that only interact with fursuiters, all of it under this one umbrella of exclusivity, not being inclusive of everyone. However, that might be contrary to what the furry fandom really is about in the first place, which leads people to think that cliques are a bad thing. So I want to talk about this today in sort of a productive and constructive manner. I've had these ideas and thoughts about what cliques mean, and I've experienced different things with regards to cliques, whether it's my interest within content creation, being a popular or known furry to some extent, having a fursuit, or even just wanting to have a small chill group of friends where it doesn't have to be like a 20-30 plus event every single time. As someone who has been included and excluded for different reasons, usually a lot of them not being heinous or due to status or out of hostility, I'm telling you guys this right now, cliques aren't a problem within furry. It's not a prominent issue that really needs to be assessed. And if anything, like, what can you really do about it? What's gonna happen? What are you gonna do? You're just gonna kick down the door of whatever, like, clique or friend group is happening and being like, you there, you better invite me right now to this group, or I'll get angry. The reason why I want to do this video in the first place is because I've seen a bit of a shift in how the furry fandom is kind of growing. A lot of people are shifting towards wanting the furry experience to be with a closed, small group of friends, while on the other hand, some folks not liking that idea. I've seen a lot more, in my opinion, petty drama happening, where like a friend group will throw some friend event and call it like insert friend con name here and post about it on Twitter or social media, and people get upset thinking, oh, this is a convention, so I should be allowed to join. Why is it invite only? Well, if that's the case, then you guys are being elite furs, popufurs, a shitty, group of furries, so on and so forth. And it always always falls under this idea of exclusivity. The idea of exclusivity in this case kind of contradicts the idea of furry in and of itself, where the community is naturally inclusive to anyone that wants to be a furry. For some, furry is a hobby, it's a lifestyle, but at the end of the day, it is to some extent a label. If you participate in this community and you call yourself a furry, you're a furry. Anyone can really join the community, and that's kind of a double-edged sword in and of itself, where, you know, oh hey, anyone can be welcome to join the furry community, while also anyone can join the furry community or say that they're a furry, even if people might not like them or objectively want them to be a furry. See, even exclusivity has some play in that. And so with furry being inclusive naturally, it's kind of hard to see this idea that a lot of individual furry experiences are going to be exclusive in the sense that people are just going to want to withdraw to some friend group or people that they've met within the fandom and really hone in on those relationships. So that leads to the conundrum that we're at today. Are cliques problematic or not? I would like to argue for this video that cliques naturally are not problematic. They can be. There can be some groups of people that are just not great or wonderful to people wanting to hang out or bring in new people to their group, but the idea of cliques or friend groups within furry are not problematic. See, if you take the term clique and just turn it into friend group, because that's realistically a lot of what it is at the end of the day, this all seems very non-problematic, which is why it feels weird for me to say, like, hot take, cliques aren't a problem within furry, but, you know, I have to give context to what I mean by that, because anyone could run with the definition of a clique and think of it as a bad thing at the end of the day. I should have known too that this wouldn't really be a problematic video or discussion as a whole, because whenever I think of the term clique, it always takes me back to like high school, with like high school cafeteria tables, you know, the group of jocks and then nerds, and then this person can't go to that table, and then they're not welcome at this one. It just seems so petty and dumb, because at the end of the day, a lot of people who have these friend groups or cliques, quote unquote, it just comes down to furries wanting to hang out with furries who they have a lot more in common with and vibe well with. You know how I make the joke from time to time about how you can't just be friends with someone because they're a furry? Oh my god, you're a furry? I'm a furry. We should be best friends. Don't say no or you're a bad person. I know I over embellish it very highly, but it is kind of true to some extent. As much as you can make friends with someone because they're naturally a furry, it doesn't also mean that it will work out. A lot of friend groups or friend circles I'm a part of don't even necessarily have to be that we all have the same interest. We just get along and vibe well with one another. We enjoy each other's company. So you can have friend groups that happen for all sorts of different reasons. Especially if you're going around meeting people and putting yourself out there, talking about your interests, you're bound to find people that you get along with, and they might have other people that you get along with, but you don't have much in common, and then boom, you just have a friend group that happens. And so if you look at friend groups and cliques within the perspective of people wanting to really hone in on the relationships they have, they're supposed to be more of a positive thing. They enhance the experience within socializing and especially within furry, and I feel like more so now, they're more pivotal to have. Not in the realm, you know, everyone should be making cliques, but everyone should be looking to make friends and have friend circles, friend groups, have a social life to some extent. So that's why naturally I've always seen cliques and friend groups as a good thing. But either way, that's kind of the bottom line that I see with cliques and friend groups. They're just gonna happen naturally because that's just how it is. People want to hang out with certain people and feel closer with certain others while not feeling as close with some others, and that's okay at the end of the day. That's why sometimes it takes a different frame of mind or approach to looking at friend groups and cliques to kind of understand that it's not like a personal attack against you or against anyone in particular that they're not included. And it's not like, you know, there's anything that can really be done about it. Everyone's just trying to have their own experience within furry. But regardless, that's more of the main point of why I see them as a good thing. Now, on the other hand, the reason why this could be a problem in the first case is there are those that see cliques as a bad thing. The main argument I usually see with regards to cliques being a bad thing or problematic within furry is that the furry hobby is inclusive. Anyone can say they're a furry, apply the label to themselves, and enjoy the fandom. But with that expectation of things being inclusive, having this idea of friend groups being closed off and exclusive doesn't really sit well with some people. It's contrary to what the main point of furry is. So when you have people joining and wanting to make friends with everyone, you might have others that aren't really looking to make friends and are looking to just cultivate the relationships they have. A lot of it comes down to the overall experience one has in the fandom. Like, if you've been around for a while, you probably have like a few friends and friend circles that you're a part of. I guess my personal example that really hit home for me was when I started getting into the furry community, and I was big into like the YouTube scene, really just trying to meet people within that. And I started to talk with Majira, just randomly DM'd him, and then we ended up going to the same con, and then we hung out a little bit, and then I asked to hang at Anthrocon, and then when all these like pictures went live of us like chilling, hanging out at Anthrocon, I received so much shit from people with claims saying that I'm clinging to him for clout, that I just kind of popped out of nowhere and I'm realistically just using him for my own personal gain. But in reality, him and I just hit it off very well and had very similar interests and feelings with regards to the whole content creation process. With what we dealt with from the parasocial perspective, what we dealt with from the creator perspective, and we really bonded over that. It was really good. So in the case where a lot of the presumptions people were making were usually negative, thinking that I am just using this in the long run, it just ended up being that I hit it off really well with this person and we got along and really understood each other. See what I mean? Where like presumption can be wrong in this case. I think that's the bottom line to kind of take from a lot of this discussion. With cliques, with friend groups, with making presumptions about them being bad or this or that, a lot of it is just people wanting to hang out and chill. So in the case of being rejected or feeling like you aren't being given the right time of day, I implore you to think positively about the situation before immediately writing off people as bad, because a lot of the times they aren't doing it maliciously. The thing within Furry too is it is a very different community compared to just making friends and dealing with cliques or friend groups outside of that in any other mainstream, I guess, hobby. It's not just that Furry is an inclusive community, but within the concept that Furry has a clique problem, I feel like it's that furries hold other furries to a higher standard compared to anyone outside of the fandom. So whenever you see these issues that are quite clearly just regular, natural human people problems, a lot more of it is amplified within Furry. I feel like even the example that furries all get along has become a lot less of an argument nowadays just because of how big the fandom is growing and how many people are just constantly joining. Another aspect to keep in mind with why the clique problem might be seen as a bigger issue is because in Furry, at least in the social media aspect, you kind of know people before you actually meet them. Because in some sense, you're being introduced to someone in their curated, whatever they put out there form. And usually that's their fursona or fursuit or character and whatever else they're interested in that they post about. You might be a fan of what they have to offer or what they do, or might have some things in common with them. And especially with it being furries, it's a lot easier to recognize people. Like, I know there are so goddamn many like blue foxes and wolves out there, but if it's someone you really enjoy what they have to offer on social media, you're bound to recognize them. And if you see them IRL at a con, that's even more the case. Seeing how people interact online is a good way of helping us recognize if we like the energy of these people. For example, if I go to your Twitter and all I see is you talking about drama and complaining, I probably don't want to hang around you. On the other hand, you might be someone I might really enjoy what you're posting. I might resonate very well with your personality, enjoy the humor that you do, and I might want to be your friend. I've been rambling on for quite a bit, so I kind of want to leave things off on a big advice point that I have personally used in the past year or so. And this comes from one of my best friends in the whole world, Raiden, who has helped me out tremendously with trying to figure out who I am and where I belong and relationships as a whole. The advice goes along the lines of something like this: don't focus on where you're excluded. Focus on where you are included. The clique problem within the furry community isn't a problem unless you make it a problem. Just as your experience within furry is what you make of it and how far you keep going to try and meet the people that really will be your like lifelong friends. I get wanted to be in a certain group or party, especially from like posts you see on Twitter, where everyone looks like they're having an amazing time, because FOMO is a hell of a thing. But don't let FOMO be the main reason why you want to be there either. Seek a fulfilling relationship rather than one you think you would be happy in. Don't worry about the intricacies about feeling like you need to fit in or change how you interact with people. Just be you and enjoy it, and then the rest will follow. That's something that I've been doing a lot of this year personally. Sometimes you just gotta throw out that "hey there Pookie Bear" message as soon as you meet someone. That's just how it be, and if they're there for it, they're there for it. They understand the humor. Just enjoy the time, and I'm sure you'll meet the person or people where you'll feel like you belong and feel welcome and loved and included. But if you enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments. I greatly appreciate all the love and support. I'll be linking a few different videos and articles in the description below if you want to read more sort of on this. The one thing I will be linking specifically are the geek social fallacies, which I think apply very heavily and excellently to a lot of the issues that you see happening within the realm of relationships and friendships within furry, and some false expectations that might be with building those relationships. Also, go and pre-order my plushie if you haven't already, a link in the description for that as well. But either way, that's about gonna do it for me. Have a wonderful night, take care, life stay jacket, treat people like people, and that's about it for me. Thank you all for watching. Take care, guys.